I would like to call this meeting to order and start with a roll call.
Alderperson Robinson.
Present.
Hertz.
Here.
Gilbert.
Present.
Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Pulis. Healy.
Here.
And Mayor Tomes.
Here. Thank you. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Remain standing for a moment of silence.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Public comment. We have a few people that signed up. Carl Brandon?
Yes. Thank you so much, Mayor and City Council, for giving me a moment here. My name is Carl Brandon, and I am Superintendent of the North Central Conference of the Free Methodist Church. And I'm speaking on behalf of the zoning request for the Jerusalem Free Methodist Church. And some of the reason that I'm here is because this is basically an immigrant part of our conference that is that has this church here and has purchased this property. And due to their background coming from the Democratic Republic of Congo and the fact that we do things very differently here than they do there, they were really not aware of the zoning kinds of issues that they would have when they purchased this building. And we were not involved in that, and so we didn't have the opportunity to kind of guide them along those lines. And they were just looking for a building that was in a region where a pretty good number of their congregants live, where they could gather for worship, and that was the intent. And so I wanted to help you as a council understand, as that was approved by the zoning commission, or I don't know your exact titles, sorry. I live in Janesville, Wisconsin. It's actually my third trip over here for a meeting, but we fully understand and respect the zoning issues of a city. But I think there are good reasons to give consideration, because in this particular neighborhood, it's a building that's been sitting vacant for quite some time, which is evident by the condition it's in. And there are quite a few vacant lots around there. And this isn't a large building that will impose on residency kinds of issues, but I believe it will be, instead, it will be a great benefit to the community. And for this community, the Congolese community, it's more than just a church. It's kind of like a place where they bring their youth off the street and they give them needs and help with education. It's also kind of a social service agency where they help new people try to get acquainted with the area and our customs, and provide many services to them. And also I want the city to know that if the zoning is approved, that they will not be on their own, that our conference will then be able to come alongside them and help them take the next steps to upgrade the building, get it in a condition where it's occupiable and can be used well. And that they've had it for about 1.5 years now, but have not been able to worship in it. And they were confused when I came in and said, no, you can't just come here and worship as they're paying their mortgage on it. They just did not understand the dynamics there. So I've had to have some tough meetings with them, help them understand the process. And yet they're a wonderful group of folks who are learning our culture and trying to get settled in. And so I just wanted you to have that background and speak in favor of this on their behalf, and let them know that we're in this with them, and we hope that you'll give good consideration to approving the zoning change.
Very good. Thank you very much. Jake?
Thank you. I'm Jake Meisenbach. I'm requesting a special use permit for a building located at 1229 Second Avenue. I'm not sure if you guys have been down to that area. There's a steel factory on one side and another vacant lot on the other. I met with Mayor Tomes at a union event over 2 years ago. I reached out to him. I have a small business. I have a lawn care business. I reached out. I wanted to see what buildings or land was available that Rock Island owned. I met with the economic development team. We settled on an agreement to purchase the property, develop it. I did that. With that, I had a shop for myself and rentable units to offset my investment. It was a rather large investment. I'm a fireman for the city. I have a small business. I'm not a big real estate guy. I don't make a lot of money. So this was a pretty major decision for myself. So I took a dilapidated property, had no city owned for 20 years. I'm sorry, city owned for 5 years, vacant for 20. Made it look nice, put a building on it. I had met numerous times with the economic development team with the very clear intent of I was going to use it for a shop for one side. The rest of the building was going to be rentable units to offset my cost. I applied for variances to increase the size solely for the purpose of more rentable units, to offset my cost, because this was a rather large investment for me. Building permits were issued. I was allowed to pour the concrete foundation, build the building. I started advertising for rentable units, and then I was completely blindsided when I got a letter from the economic development team stating that that was not allowed. I'm not sure the disconnect on what happened on either one of our sides, but it was very clear that that was my intent, to have a shop for myself and rentable units. I have 3 documents here that will help support that. And again, it was a large investment. I don't make enough money without having rentable units to offset my costs. I really need this special use permit to pass. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for serving.
Could we get copies of those documents he has?
Yeah, can I see those? Thank you.
Yes.
I'll pass them around.
No, just keep, no,
Yeah, all right.
no, you pass them. All right. Item number 6.
Minutes from the December 11th, 2023 study session and city council meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Move to approve the minutes as corrected.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item number 7, update Rock Island. Got a couple items here. Celebrate Martin Luther King Day with the community. The 41st annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Service and Awards will be held January 15th at 10:30 a.m. at the MLK Community Center at 630 9th Street, Rock Island, with a theme of Walk Together, March Forward. The event will also be streamed on Facebook and YouTube. Nominations are being accepted for the I Have a Dream Award. The deadline is this Friday, December 22nd. Go to mlkcenter.org for nomination requirements and the application. Holiday closings. City Hall will be closed over the holidays on Monday, December 25th, and Tuesday, December 26th, and Monday, January 1st. Rock Island Public Library branches will be closed for Christmas from December 23rd through December 22nd, and over New Year's from December 30th through January 2nd.
23rd to the 22nd.
I'm sorry, December, it says December 23rd through December 26th for the library. Don't forget to check out the library of things if you need a cake pan, muffin tin, cookie cutters, or candy molds for the holidays. Your Rock Island Public Library card also gives you access to great online content such as ebooks, audiobooks, movies, magazines, and more. Would you or someone you know make a great firefighter? The Rock Island Fire Department is accepting applications now through December 31st. If you have a passion for serving others and willingness to be part of a team, this is your chance. Call 309-732-2800 to be connected with the recruiting team or apply at rigov.org. And finally, congratulations to wastewater plant supervisor Lisa Perry on her nomination as Outstanding Operator of the Year by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency's Division of Water Pollution Control, Field Operation Selection. Lisa Perry is only one of 4 operators who were nominated out of hundreds in the wastewater plant operations in the state. Lisa will be recognized during the annual conference to be held in East Peoria in March. And that brings that to a conclusion. Yes. Woo-hoo. Item number 8.
An ordinance adopting the budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024, second reading.
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz. Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item 8B.
An ordinance for the levy, assessment, and collection of property taxes for the city of Rock Island for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024, second reading.
Motion to pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item 8C.
An ordinance for the property tax levy of the Downtown Special Service Area, or SSA, providing $310,633 in property taxes for collection in the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024, second reading.
Move to pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz. Gilbert.
Nay.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 9A.
Claims for the week of December 1st through December 7th, 2023, in the amount of $318,308.20, and payroll for the weeks of November 13th through November 26th, 2023, in the amount of $1,698,148.99.
Move to allow the claims and payroll.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item number 9B.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding payment in the amount of $108,766.60 to McClintock Trucking and Excavating of Silvis, Illinois, for the water service and sewer lateral repair contract.
Motion to allow the claim.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion?
Due to the nature of my employment, I need to recuse myself from this vote.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item number 10A.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding bids for the demolition of 5 residential properties, recommending the contract be awarded to Miller Trucking and Excavating of Silvis in the amount of $169,989.
Move to award the bid as recommended and authorize the city manager to execute the contract documents.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion?
Due to the nature of my employment, I need to recuse myself from this vote as well.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item number 10B,
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a bid for the demolition of the class buildings, recommending the contract be awarded to Koopman Trucking and Excavating of Moline, Illinois, in the amount of $198,062.
Motion to award the bid as recommended and authorize the city manager to execute the contract documents.
Second.
moved to second. Any discussion?
Guess what, everybody? Due to the nature of my employment, I need to recuse myself from this vote.
Just due to the nature of my appointment, I can vote.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson. Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
11A.
C. Sorry, we
Oh,
saw
did we,
10C. Yep.
Excuse me, 10C.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding an option to purchase the 31st Street site with Community Home Partners.
Move to approve the option to purchase as recommended.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Now, light 11A.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a rezoning request from Itoka Abui at 830 14th and a half Street, first reading.
Motion to approve the request.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Miles, can you just give us some information of what the issue is with this request? And can we
Yes,
kinda-
and the easiest way to do that, Tim, would you open the maps and photos attachment? So here's a zoning map. You can see the subject property right in the middle of this residentially zoned area. The property was originally actually built as like a neighborhood soda fountain before automobiles were very common, right? And so there's no off-street parking save for 4 spots that are stacked kind of behind the building. Tim, can you scroll down? There's a photo that shows a garage. One more. That's the building in question. You can kind of see its original commercial nature. Scroll down a little further. So this is the only technically off-street parking that's available on the site, about enough room for 4 cars. On the side of the property in public right-of-way, there are some additional parking spaces. We think that's a vestige of when the property was actually used in the 1970s by Project Now as one of their offices. Since that time, it has been apartments on the first floor, so it was converted from a commercial space to an office space, then to apartments. And it stayed that way for near on 30 years. The proposal to convert it over to a church use, so kind of returning that first floor to its more original configuration. The lack of off-street parking is something that leads staff to be concerned about that zoning change. Once we change the zoning, remember, sure, it's a church now, but they might be there for 5 or 10 years, then sell it to another use that may have need of more parking, right? So it's that potential for conflict down the road that is of concern to staff. As you'll see in the memo, of course, the Planning Commission viewed it differently. So you have one recommendation from the staff, which is to deny, and one recommendation from the Planning Commission, which is to approve, which means, of course, that you get to make the final decision. The Planning Commission didn't view this as serious a concern as staff do. Again, we shepherd a process, so when we evaluate these kinds of applications, we just look at these different criteria and we make a recommendation based on that criteria alone. The Planning Commission was looking at more specifics of the unique request, and they came to a different conclusion.
But if it is so, like, what the staff concern is, it can go back to zoning and change it again, correct?
So let's say 10 years down the road, the church is very successful, they need more space, they move on to another property. And then this is purchased by a new owner who has a more high-intensity use.
Right.
Then what will happen if there is a conflict, lots of people are coming to the property, it's causing parking congestion in this residential area that people are complaining about. We then are in a situation where we'll engage basically in some sort of enforcement procedure to try to limit the street parking. The issue will be is how would a new user accommodate any off-street parking? They're going to have to buy adjacent properties to create more parking. And again, that will be in the middle of a residentially zoned area that is likely to remain predominantly residential. So that's where staff's mind is at. That's why we're recommending against approval. If, Tim, can you scroll back up to that first map, please? So, actually, the second one without the aerial image might be easier. So what we're kind of talking about here is this thing called spot zoning, where you take a property that's kind of an island within one zoning district, and you turn it into something that's different than what's around it. We try to keep the districts contiguous. So if you're like adjacent to a commercial area and you're gonna, just expand that by one parcel, not that big a deal. Your potential for use conflict isn't so great. But when you're doing it right in the middle of a very different district, that's when there's more potential for problems down the road. And again, staff are just taking a long-term view of what this might mean.
But I think with this particular location and with the congregation that's planning on moving in there, I think this is a perfect opportunity for them. This is in the target area where a lot of the congregation members live. So I don't know how many, and again, we're hypothetical.
And staff doesn't
We don't know.
dispute any of those facts.
So I don't know how many will actually be using the street parking. A lot of the residents I know who will probably be attending the church will probably be walking or using the public bus service.
Sure, and again, staff is not thinking just of the immediate user of the property, but this longer-term potential for there to be conflicts, because people living in houses around this, again, say the property changes hands, the use becomes more intense, they also have concerns that we need to take into consideration about suddenly the street's clogged with traffic that wasn't there before.
So you can't have a church in a residential area?
No, when we updated the zoning code, all church properties in the city are actually zoned O1. So actually, you see some church properties off to the left there.
So didn't they say that adjoining properties are vacant?
So those are houses all there, and this is in Alderman Robinson's ward, so I would defer to him to kind of describe the neighborhood.
It's a little mixed, but this is a good thing.
If Tim, can you scroll up to the
No,
area?
I
with
Is there
me?
any empty lots right next to it or not?
Excuse me?
Is there any empty lots or anything they could purchase or
So-
could be
Across.
parking?
Behind.
There's probably, well, on the back end, but I don't know how that would really work for parking. It's not,
And again, that would have unintended consequences on the adjacent housing.
No, I'm just thinking
So-
if they're vacant, then parking's not an issue.
Well, it's not an issue in the sense of them having enough parking, but then the adjacent homeowners, are their properties devalued because suddenly they're surrounded by random parking lots? You see, that's what staff's concern is that we have to try to balance the property rights of the different people in the area. And that's where our concerns are really coming from.
I don't think it really, it's not a big concern based on the population that will be utilizing the space, if that's the question. I don't think that's the concern.
No.
If it was a different congregation, then yeah, maybe, because you'll have more people traveling by motor vehicle or something like that. But again, I don't think it's gonna be that big of an issue.
Well, and I would imagine it's not gonna be church 24/7.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I don't wanna seem biased, but this is needed in that area.
I agree with you. I'm
Down
on-
the road
I'm
stuff
right
is
there.
all hypothetical anyway at this point,
Well,
so.
yeah, but coming from Chicago, all the churches that I knew, they were all in residential areas. So maybe we need to revisit that part of our zoning code or something.
Well, just keep in mind, a lot of these buildings would have been built long before automobiles dominated the urban landscape, right? And that's again, like this building is in effect a throwback to that time in that this would not be a location where anyone would put like a small cafe or restaurant today. But back when it was built, most people didn't have access to a car and they would walk. So there's still these remnants of a previous era when you look at some of these, what we would now call non-conforming buildings.
Miles, did the property owner pursue a special use permit?
So we discussed a little bit about which of those would be more appropriate. Ultimately, what they're asking for is more in line with what we would think of for rezoning. There is that option if the council thinks that that might be a better compromise, to send it back to staff and we can talk with the applicant about that. So that is an option. Generally speaking, for a property like this, especially given that it is a more intense use with potentially not people there all the time, but when there are people there, it could be a larger group of people than you might see in, say, like a small doctor's office or something like that. We felt this was a little bit more in tune or in alignment with the potential for impact.
So would you say that it would be staff's preference to pursue a special use permit process rather than rezoning for this use?
What I would tell you is that at this point, there's disagreement between the planning commission and staff, right? So we are not coming to the same recommendation. If the council wants to split the difference on the question, you can always refer it back and we can discuss with them a special use permit. Obviously, those are granted by the council. You can set your own stipulations, and then they're not fit to the property, but they're instead fixed to the applicant.
Right.
So if the church went away, then so too would the special use.
Well, I'm going to defer to whatever Alderperson Robinson wants to do,
Yes.
but I thought I would ask about the special use permit.
Yeah, this is one of those cases that's a little out of the ordinary. We don't see it too often, but looking around the city and a lot of our neighborhoods, again, built before the dominance of the car, you do see these kinds of buildings here and there, and so whenever they come up in these discussions, it can be a little bit tough to know exactly what the right approach is. Again, staff don't have any issue, with the use in and of itself. Our concerns are more with the long-term potential for impact as the property changes hands.
So if that is staff concern, I'm in favor of the special use, because then that will eliminate that concern, because once it's sold, that special use will go away, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Then that just drags out the process for these people even longer.
And that was gonna be my question.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
would-
If the council is interested in exploring that option, the basic steps would be this. If you refer it back to staff with the request that a special use permit be considered, we would then meet with the applicants, the property owners, and talk a little bit about what we think reasonable stipulations would be. We would take that to the new Planning and Zoning Commission at whatever its earliest meeting is, and
That's
then
too
it would
much.
come back
Yeah,
afterwards.
that's too much.
So-
Can I just ask the congregate, how many do they think are in the congregation?
Oh, I would defer to them.
Around 50.
We're,
Most of them share rides or would
Correct.
walk.
yeah, I'm fine as it is.
They haven't received permission from the school to use which is nearby, to park there on Sundays if needed.
Correct. We're good.
One thing I would just recommend to Alderman Robinson, if any issues should this be approved, this rezoning be approved, and there are any issues that are brought to your attention by neighbors to this
Right.
property regarding parking, we should continue a dialogue about how best that can be addressed, perhaps with some sort of permitted parking or other reasonable restrictions, regulations.
Well, I don't think it'll be an issue, because a block down the street, we have another church, and I know they're using street parking also. They have off-street parking, but their congregation is so big that they do have street parking also, and it's not an issue. So again, I don't think this will be an issue with the residents in that area. And I haven't heard any
Yeah.
kind of,
Staff receive a lot of complaints about street parking issues throughout
okay.
the city for a whole lot of different things. I know that I think pretty nearly all of you receive complaints at some point or another about the same sort of thing. So staff are just highly conscious
Gotcha.
of those concerns.
understand.
I will highlight that this was going to require 2 readings. I don't believe we suspended the rules
No, we
to
didn't.
pass it this evening. So if timeliness was a concern for the special use permit process, it already has to wait until the next city council meeting anyway. So if we wanted to go to the special use permit, I don't know how much more lengthy it will in fact be, because it needs to come back to us anyway.
I can withdraw my motion, whoever second.
I'm deferring to you, whatever you want to
Yeah,
do.
not- You would have to withdraw them, that's correct. The issue is the next planning and zoning wouldn't be till,
It's going to take longer to do the special use
Okay.
permit. I just wanted to
correct.
remind everyone that this is, if we go the rezoning route, it's still gonna have to come back to the city council for a second reading. So
Yeah,
it's not
well,
like tonight it's gonna be done.
Yeah, and actually, one other factor I should have mentioned about why we went with rezoning versus a special use permit is because they're going to extensively renovate the building. So, they're going to invest significantly in the interior. So usually with special use permit, right, the idea is that there's not a substantial physical alteration involved. In this case, if they're going to be putting in a lot of money to improving the building or changing it physically, that was another factor in why we didn't go with a special use permit, but we thought a rezoning was more appropriate.
Alderman Robinson,
I will withdraw.
okay, so who's going to withdraw, who's seconded?
I don't know who's second.
Wilson.
Oh, I'll withdraw.
And you'll withdraw?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
The second and the motion has been withdrawn. Is there a new motion?
yes, motion to suspend the rules, consider and pass the ordinance.
Second.
Well done.
I think it was going that way. That's fine, no problem. Any further discussion?
I just want to say, I applaud anybody who's trying to bring community together and to help other people. And I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing.
Yes. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Thank you. 11B.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a special use permit request from Jacob Meichenbach at 1229 Second Avenue. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules, consider the ordinance, consider and pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll. Did I hear somebody?
Well, we were going to table this so we can get some more information, but if you want to move forward with it, I just think we just need some more information on what's going on here at this location, making sure everything is fine. I know there is an ordinance, I think, in place about storage facilities, so I think that's probably the hangup. But
Miles, can I have some background information, like, what's going on here from staff's perspective?
So in the attachments for this, obviously, you can see a collection of different letters and correspondence between staff and the original applicant to purchase the property, including their initial proposal letter requesting that they be able to buy the property for $1, and then kind of going back and forth about kind of what they were going to be doing with the property. Really, the issue here is hinging on the use of the word storage, right? So staff were always under the understanding that the storage involved in this development was specific to equipment and supplies for the business. Now, we didn't ask the question, hold on, do you mean also mini warehousing, i.e., are you going to be renting space out to others? That was a question that staff did not ask, because everything that we always received seemed to indicate that. That included the building plans, which, while the building has multiple bays, there's no partition walls. So it didn't look like rentable units, it just looked like a building that a landscaping business would reasonably have and utilize. So when staff saw the social media posts advertising the property for a mini warehousing use, right, the term that we use for that, that had not been our understanding from the beginning of what the property would really be used for. Few years back, as I think Alderman Gilbert will remember, there was a large discussion about storage units in the city. And we have continued to have a discussion, ultimately taxing them and doing all sorts of things to try to limit them. There had been clear policy direction at multiple points from City Council to staff that this was a not very desirable use that was supposed to be limited to our industrial zoning districts, not in any other districts, including this business district. So staff are very concerned about making sure that we are adhering to the policies set forth by the council, and that is how we've gotten to where we're at.
If I may,
Yes.
I'm very familiar with that area. I mean, I've been here 46 years. That area down there was blighted, to be kind. I think that the improvements down there have done nothing but improved the appearance of the neighborhood. As I read it, anything that there's going to be a requirement that a fence be put around there within 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it is like other special permits. If it becomes an issue, we can readdress it at that time and say, okay, you know, you didn't follow the rules like we asked you to. So, and we've had this discussion among other properties as well. I would like to see us give him a chance. You know, if he does something that is contrary to the benefit of that neighborhood, then I would say yes, let's revisit it. Just as I would with, you know, with the church. I think that the previous motion on the church, best thing I think we could have done. Absolutely the best thing we could have done, because that's going to put life into that building. And this, I think, will put life into that neighborhood, and not in a negative way. My personal opinion, again, everybody else can make their own decision on that.
And I'm not against the proposal or the plan for the business. My concern is that I think when I first came on council, this was an issue. There's a couple other places that wanted to do this in that particular area, and we said no. So we have to be careful what we're doing. If we're telling other people no, we can't then change that. Because again, I'm all in for businesses coming and improving the area, but making sure that that does not just spill over and then that becomes a free fall. So we start having storage facilities all over the place, because that's one thing I definitely don't want to see in First Ward, and that was the issue. I think it's not just First Ward specifically, but I know it was mentioned there in the case before. So I just want to, that's why I wanted to kind of get some more information, figure out what we can do to kind of work through this, but I mean, we're here now, so.
I guess, and I'll probably piggyback on what you just said, is my guess is staff would probably ask some different questions going forward. So that would probably take care of that issue.
Correct.
Would be my guess, so. You know, I hate that you have a nice, brand-new building built in an area that was blighted, and what are we gonna say? You can't use it, tear it down? You know, you can't make your monthly payments and then it gets blighted again. You know, like Alderman Robinson said, you know, we're in this position, what do we do? So,
And I would agree with that. Had there been no development there, I just want this land, this is what I'm gonna do. But when you already, you have some skin in the game, I want to improve the area here. I'm inclined to give them a chance. Now, if council chooses not to, then I can withdraw the motion and let it go through 2 readings. But I think that in this case, and I would feel the same way regardless. If someone put in there, they put skin in the game to say, hey, we want to make this a better, we want to take it from being blighted to something that adds to the neighborhood.
Are we able,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
are we able to make a motion to table on top of this motion?
You have to
You withdraw it.
It would have to be withdrawn?
I want to defer
But,
to
sorry,
Alderman
they could,
Robinson.
we could amend your motion, probably. You can amend your motion to state that you wanted to go through as
I will amend it
first reading.
just to, so that it'll have a second. I will have to withdraw the suspend the rules request.
Right, well, you amend that. You amend that motion and say that you're taking that away. that you're
Hang on, just before you do that, hang on.
I said I want to defer to Alderman Robinson, it's in his ward.
Yeah, I'm in favor of tabling it till January 6th, or January 8th. That's our next
And
meeting.
he's looking at doing just a first reading, not a
Right.
tabling it, but
Well, that's the same, so, yeah.
Yeah, we'll just do it as a first reading. I really have a hard time taking it off the table, but again, that's council's desire.
So you
or
would need
choice.
to make a motion to amend your previous motion and state that you would like to proceed on a first reading instead.
Yes.
I'll withdraw my second, so now,
You don't have to withdraw your
don't?
second.
oh, perfect.
Mark,
He's just
you
amending
want to
it.
say that again, or do you want,
What she said. She was more eloquent.
all right? So the motion is for the first reading, for approval, first reading, and it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item 12A.
Report from the city clerk regarding a resolution approving the partial release of closed session minutes and the destruction of audio recording for the same closed session minutes.
Move to approve the partial release of closed session minutes as recommended and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item 13A and B.
Report from the Finance Department regarding a budget adjustment in the amount of $199,892 in the TIF Lock Fund 208. B, report from the Finance Department regarding a budget adjustment for the MLK Activity Fund 901.
Motion to approve budget adjustment A and B as recommended.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Hertz, Gilbert,
Aye.
Swanson. Parker,
Aye.
and Pulis.
Item 13C.
Report from the Finance Department regarding amendments to the 5-year Capital Improvement Plan, or CIP, for CY 2024 through CY 2028.
Move to approve the amendments to the CIP for CY 2024 through calendar year 2028.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
14A.
Report from the Human Resources Department regarding a general wage increase for non-affiliated employees.
Move to approve the general wage increase as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item 14B.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a 3-year economic development partnership agreement with the Development Association of Rock Island, or DARI, through December 31st, 2027.
Move to approve the 3-year agreement and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement, subject to minor attorney modifications.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
14C.
14C.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a 6-month contract extension for consultant services with Two Rivers and Associates through July 1st, 2024.
Motion to approve the 6-month contract extension and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement, subject to minor attorney modifications.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
14D.
Report from the city manager regarding Freedom of Information Act and Open Meeting Act officer appointments for CY 2024.
Move to approve the appointments as recommended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Be sure, Samantha? You want it?
No, but
Other duties as assigned.
that's it. Roll call. Let's get her in.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
15A.
Report from the mayor's office regarding appointments to the Arts and Beautification Commission and Planning and Zoning Commission.
Move to approve the appointments as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
Item 16.
Report from the city clerk's office regarding a request from the St. Patrick's Society Quad Cities USA to hold their annual parade on Saturday, March 16th, 2024.
Move to approve the event as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Hey, man, it's right by my building.
I know.
Roll
We
call.
have to abstain.
I'm not abstaining.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
And Pulis.
Aye.
17. Other business. New.
I just have a quick comment about following up our discussion in the study session with regards to the survey. And I've discussed this with the city manager. I am not in favor of doing this survey, not at this time, or spending the $18,000. We did an ARPA survey. I think half of the people who replied also wrote comments. I read all the comments. There was a lot of interesting data in there, a lot of ideas for how to improve our city, and we have done nothing with that data. So I'm like, what was the point? But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think this is too soon to pay all this money for a survey when I think it's more useful once we start getting a feel of what we're doing downtown, the different areas that we're putting money into, to get a feel from the citizens then. But we know what we're gonna get back, the roads. That's a guarantee, minus some parks and stuff like that, but I don't think we need to spend the money right now for that.
One thing with the survey, though, I agree there's a lot of data there, and we haven't digested all of that. But with the survey, it's gonna be a little more statistically looked at and analyzed, whether it be by wards, where we didn't do that. I'm not saying we can't or know if we have enough information to digest that by wards and by other demographics, that if we wish. So I don't know if there's that information out there to do that. If not, then we'd still be missing that to where they came from. And and also with the questions we ask is to be able to take a look at those multiple years in advance, whether it's 2 years from now or whatever it is, to then weigh and look at how we've improved on those or not. That you do garner from a formal program versus this other deal. So there are some things we may be missing on further future information in that, so.
I
without
just feel
repeating,
not
so.
at this time it's appropriate.
Not at this time.
As a data person, I love the data,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I
but
think it's
that's-
gonna conflict with what we just got from the ARPA.
And we didn't,
What are
But the
we-
data you want will cost an additional $5,000.
Yeah.
I'll promise that.
I'm not in favor.
I would rather take that money and do 6 unplugs a year and host them in the different wards to get people to come out, and I think you'd get a more representative statistical explanation of how people feel. I mean, I think right now is not a good time to do it. I mean, I'd rather hear from people at Unplugged on how they actually feel about different things and be able to address questions. And then maybe, once we get our road plan going and say like in 5 years, maybe revisit doing a community survey. But I think right now, with the economy the way it is, with the roads the way it is, we've had several businesses in the last week leave that we didn't know that were leaving. I don't think now's a really great time to spend the money to have people tell you that they're not happy with the city right now.
You have some new majors at a lot of the universities now, which are called data scientists. I mean, and that's all they do, is analyze that type of data. So I'm sure they're looking for projects to do. If we take that data we got from our ARPA surveys and feed that into them, they can produce some reports that will get a lot cheaper than going to this company.
Okay.
I think we have to keep in mind utilizing a program like this in combination with our strategic planning process. Our strategic planning process has been unproductive, shall we say, for a very long time. And as we've said many times at this table, it's because it's not driven by data. It's not driven by any sort of accountability. There's no numbers associated with it. We just say, a goal of the city is to have great infrastructure. Well, what does that mean? How are we quantifying whether we have great infrastructure, right? Great services to citizens. Well, how are we actually measuring whether our services are in fact great in residents' perception? And it is through a surveying system. It's like when I buy my cup of coffee and I get an email from Cool Bean saying, rate how we did, right? I mean, it's the same idea of getting that feedback from customers that say, how are we doing, so that then we can identify where do we need to improve. And it's not as simple as fix the roads. Obviously, we need to fix the roads, but we need to start quantifying what we're doing. We need to have numbers behind what we're doing and having that lead our strategic planning process. We're going to be having a strategic planning event, I don't know, whatever we want to call it, coming up this year, right? How are we going to have it be any different from any of our previous strategic planning processes without numbers connected to it? And a survey is how you get the numbers. So I'll be the contrarian here to say that we desperately need to start doing regular reporting and surveying to identify how we're doing, because right now, we're just flying blind. We have no clue. I mean, we know people are upset, but other than that, we don't know what could improve and where. So
You're also looking for positive thoughts, not just negative.
but there were
And the ARPA,
positive thoughts
so-
in
The
the
data we're
ARPA
getting right now,
survey.
though, is flawed because we're not grabbing the data from all of the areas of the city. It's a small pocket of the community that we're getting data from.
we're getting data from just the people that self-select and say, I'm gonna contact my alder person. That's the only data that we're getting
Well,
currently.
any survey we have done since I've been here,
Right.
it's always a small pocket of the community that's providing that feedback.
And this would broaden that.
I don't know. How can you guarantee that? Because I'm just speaking of my work and specifically. The language barrier is going to be the first thing. I get if we do connect it with the schools, we probably can get a little bit of a better response from that, but you're still going to have a dip somewhere because you have that language barrier so broad within the first ward. You know what I mean? It bleeds
But we
out
don't know
more
if we
than this
have
first
that
ward.
with the ARPA information either.
I know we don't. I know we
And so
don't.
if we do that and don't do this, you're still lacking what you're looking for.
And that's what I'm saying. The
And-
data is flawed. It's not, I want to say flawed. It's not.
Current
complete.
data that we have.
Yeah, it's not complete.
Well, I can tell you, our three wards, a lot of overlap in, in demographics,
Right.
and I think, and I would tend to agree with Alderperson Robinson in this case.
But this company could, once again, if they promise or commit to making sure they get statistically the number of surveys back from each ward or each demographic, whatever it takes, if it takes phone calls, if it takes knocking on doors, whatever it is, to get there.
I mean, I'm sure that
But what is the point of having the ARPA survey? We asked for comments, and then we just ignored them, and we haven't done anything with them.
I agree.
We use the ARPA survey to develop the ARPA plan.
I know,
Yeah,
but
we
all
still
the
do that.
comments were often not related to the actual, how we spent the ARPA money. There were positive comments, there were negative comments, there were ideas on how to improve the city, there were things that they felt were the most important things, but we did nothing with it. I mean, I would love to, I don't know if Augustana could help, here's all the data
Well,
from
I'm
the
just-
ARPA survey and see
I
what
guess
they can do with it.
Going back to the neighborhood plans from what I've seen from my ward, Chicago, Douglas, Longview, a lot of those plans, they fell apart because we just had the funding. So I don't see any difference here. It'll help us with the data because it gives us a roadmap of where we should be funneling the funds, but we don't have the funds. That's why a lot of those plans just sit dormant right now.
Yeah, austerity is strangling many things in this city. I'm aware.
Absolutely.
But speaking of streets and unplugged, so we had a study session, was it only a week ago, on our proposed infrastructure investment tax or whatever it was called. So I sent out an email to my list, just giving them the highlights of what the discussion was about. I received probably more responses to that topic than I think I have in any other thing that I've sent out about it. So I encourage staff to quickly schedule a public forum so that the idea, the proposal can be presented to our residents, and they have the opportunity to ask questions, a lot of them sent in ideas, or what about this, what their concerns are. I'm just saying, because that is on their minds.
Yes.
So Moline currently conducts citizen satisfaction surveys every 2 years, and it gives them a good data set to look back on, just like Mr. Heacock was talking about, where to progress and move on from there. Moline conducted one in August. Bettendorf regularly conducts these as well. And so all the other surrounding communities, this is part of their strategic practice. Rock Island has never conducted a citizen satisfaction survey like this. So one of the contractors that we looked at that submitted an RFP was Zen City. That's who Moline is using. So it's not, I think, a stretch to consider this.
Okay, well, we're not obviously voting, but people express their thoughts. And once again, I'd encourage everyone to continue to do that and send those in if you wish to the city administrator or city manager and/or Sarah, so they can try to make a decision to bring forth to the council. Please.
I mean, I would go so far as if we aren't going to invest in a survey, we should not invest in hiring somebody to do strategic planning. We may as well get the University of Illinois Extension Office back in and do the same thing we've been doing for the past 20 years.
No, that's where we go, that's where we've had the worst people come in to do our strategic planning, and I'm really sorry, I do a lot of strategic planning, and our strategic planning, since I have been on council, has been less than desirable, and so you get the results for who you pay for to do it. And I think that we need to invest in somebody who knows what's going on, who can keep it on task, on track, and professionally do strategic planning, so we actually emerge with a strategic plan instead of, The last time we had it, they wanted to quit and they wanted to walk out. The time before, we didn't want to pay hardly any money for it, so we had it done by somebody else. And I think there are certain things that I would invest money in. That is one that I would invest money in so that you actually can get a plan that you can move forward instead of the hodgepodge format that we've had in the past. I mean, please do not ask me to come in and put 15 sticky notes on a piece of paper, because I'm not gonna do it.
I think we should hire a professional consultant for strategic planning and do the survey. I'm not suggesting that we should not pay for somebody to do strategic planning. I'm saying we can't go halfway.
But I'm not ready to pay $23,000, because I will promise you, the data that I want to see is not going to be the data that is going to be part of our $18,000 package. For me to drill down and get the data I want, business model, whatever, it's going to be the extra $5,000. And at this point, I'm not willing to pay $23,000 for something that I personally feel we can access through, like, I know it's a lot of work, but 5 unplugs a year. You know, you've got to get the residents to give you their advice, because they don't.
If we're concerned about what's the word, like a viable number of people, I mean, the people that go to unplugged events are very much the same population that always comes to city council meetings and contacts their alder person
And those will be the people who will reply to the survey.
I think the intent with the survey is to get people in addition to that.
I'd like to provide a little bit more information to the council about the survey and the way it operates and the results of it. I'll give you an example of what they deliver, which might help frame the discussion. One thing you remember about this survey is it's different than others because it's truly a random sample. It's not, people don't self-select to participate in there, and that's why it's a statistically valid survey. They get the appropriate number of people, and they'll put together whatever demographic you want. They'll keep working at it. I've worked with this firm before in other communities. Every community I work for has done a survey like this, and the information is useful. But I understand your concerns, and I think it'd be good if I could provide you with a little bit more information about exactly what they do, why they do it that way, and then what they deliver.
Okay. I guess I just want to make one comment, is that I want to publicly wish Terry Tilka a happy retirement. He's worked a long time, over 40 years. He's out there promoting not only his business, but the city of Rock Island and downtown specifically. So kudos to him. Successful journey that he's had, and a well-deserved retirement. So thank you very much for that, and hopefully there's somebody to be able to carry that on.
And anyone else retiring?
No.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not yet. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Adjourned.